Time takes a toll on everyone, they say. Time is merciless, it won't wait for us to change. Time, I am stressing out, I can't figure out what to say. Oh, time, just give us time. Time, looking back on pictures, and I find it hard to see you and myself in places where we used.
Hey, Tubani Zaku, program here Zanji. Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever place you are around the world. It's a Saturday. It's a beautiful day here where I hope everyone is doing great, including my co-host Desire. Desire, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Nobody go to today as we share knowledge, learn, grow. I hope now you're doing well. Gambia, you're doing well. It's a good day. Saturday, weekend day Tuesday. And so with your Mari Bulunji Jari.
Yeah, I'm doing amazing. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about the Zulu nation. Mainly, the main character is going to be Shaka Zulu, the famous warrior up to today from South Africa. And in addition, we're going to talk about the Dahomey Kingdom. My co-host Desire is going to say enough information about that, so you guys should be excited for today's show. In addition, for the first time, we're going to kind of go around what has been happening around the world, not just in Uganda, not just, but just around the world. Some of the main topics, just to keep you guys updated on what's really going on. First of all, I'm going to talk about the death of Colin Powell. Colin Powell died this past week, and he's one of the guys. He was the former U.S. Secretary of State during the Bush administration, and this guy, he's one of the people who lied that Iraq had the weapons of mass destructions, which led to the invasion of Iraqi. And after the invasion, they didn't find the weapons of mass destruction. So when he died, people were puzzled. They were like, "Oh, should we celebrate his death or should we mourn his death?" Because people were like, he lied to the American people, leading us to a war which we're still fighting up to today. So some people were like, he should be a hero. Some people are like, no, 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 he shouldn't be a hero. And the sad part of the story is he went to the grave with his secret. Yafudene ne yafudene. How to say secret in Lugha? Yeah. But then man, just Nenga. Okay, many people were like he should be a hero. Some people are like no. is not a hero because the war he told us about, we're still fighting it up to today. All right, now let's go to Haiti, where 15 American tourists were arrested or captured by certain Haitian gangs. Uh, so these tourists who were being captured, there's so much going on about the abduction. Some people say it was staged. Some people say these people they were captured because, according to the local sources, they say the tourists were engaging in some kind of sexual abuse to some kids, like some kids in Haiti. So that's why they were being captured, and now they're being punished. But the Western media is telling us the other side of the story, which the people really need to know the truth, but they're not being told the truth. So that's what's going on in Haiti. We know Haiti has so many gangs, and some of those were created by the past administration, which was being backed by the US. So we don't know who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. Um, the other third story of the day we have is Brian Laundrie. This uh, this is a guy who killed his girlfriend on a trip, and this was like a month ago. It made some international headlines. So they were on a trip around the US, and after 6 months, he came back without his girlfriend. So they asked him, "Where is your girlfriend, Gabby Petito?" And he didn't say anything. So the FBI got involved, uh, even the CIA got involved, and after like 2 days, sorry, after a week, they found the remains of his girlfriend. He had killed the girlfriend. So when they came back to arrest this guy, he ran away from home, and they've been hunting for him for like a month, and they found his remains too. So he killed himself. We don't know whether he killed himself or somebody killed him, but he also died without telling us what really happened between him and his ex-girlfriend. So the reason I bring this story is because many people here complaining like so many people get lost, but no one. Why doesn't he make international stories like this, even reaching to a point where the president Joe Biden talks about this? And people were like, "Oh, maybe it's white privilege," because if it was a Latino, a black person getting lost, no one would be talking about it. But it's a good thing to talk about, just to show you how the media can really bring people to one something which doesn't make sense to make international news. All right, the next story of the day of the week is the Kenyan president, Uhuru Kenyatta, becomes the first African president to meet Joe Biden. He was welcomed to the White House, where they talked about some bilateral agreements between Kenya and the U.S. and furthermore how the two countries can develop and make this friendship strong and strong and strong. I don't know what the the president of Uganda is planning, but the president of Kenya is a man who walks his talk during his. Actually, I think he's in his last term in office, but he's doing so many wonders. In addition to this, Kenya lifted its curfew, so there's no more curfew in Kenya. But in Uganda, it's still going on. Like I don't know when it's going to be lifted, but I like the Uhuru model. Like he's a man of words. Like he's a person who would he would come and they would ask him something about his allegations, and you'd be like, "Let's go to court. I'm ready to defend myself." He's so open, but Museveni, he would never say that. He'll be like, "Hey, your government is corrupt." Like, I'll handle them. I'll handle it. He's not like the court is going to do its part. He's like he's everything, as a dictator, can be. Anyway, enough with the Kenyan. So now the last story of the week. Actually, this happened, I think, like an hour ago. 574 inmates have escaped in a Nigerian prison. This happened after gunmen attacked a prison in southwest Nigeria, uh, and they freed around 575 inmates. That's what the officials say. I wish this something like this can happen in Kitaria. Maybe it would free the youngsters who were there like being tortured uh, by the regime right now. And prior to this situation, there have been like local police stations and other security agencies have been attacked by the same militia groups. So the security forces in Nigeria, they're living in fear. So I wonder if maybe the Ugandans also need to step up and be like the Nigerians, and
Mhm.
and do something of a kind, because until you guys do something, that's when we can start freeing ourselves. Anyway, that was enough for what happened around this week. Maybe Desire can comment a little about one of the topics I talked about before we start the show.
It's very funny. The American delegation, when it was time to talk with African leaders, they wanted to over Zoom and meet the leaders over Zoom. But Uhuru Kenyatta has been the first, and he got on a plane to go and meet Joe Biden. And we all know that America has nothing in none of its foreign policies to the advantage of African countries or African peoples in general, as AFRICOM uh, is still expanding, and we're wondering whether by December AFRICOM will be funded. And you have leaders like Jomo no, sorry, I'm calling his father, Uhuru Kenyatta, Museveni, Kagame, and African leaders all over the world, all over the continent, who actually allow the US to set up military bases in Africa because the US claims that it's fighting terrorism in Africa. What Africans have gone to terrorize the US for it to set up military bases. So I would be interested to see what bilateral agreements they have agreed on. Situa Yamba, the region as a whole. Maybe it's competition between Uhuru and Kagame and Museveni and Yabadako or Abada Point Man, because I don't know what's going to happen.
No, some of the bilateral agreements about Gedeko, it's about climate change.
Olaba, that is the irony. Climate change in Uganda, they're setting up, they're paying for a whole pipeline, oil pipeline, and it's supposed to run all the way to Tanzania. These are all agreements that Kenya knows of, Tanzania knows of, Katinongama, they're discussing climate change. So these meetings between the U.S. representative being the first cat, it's Joe Biden, and an African leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, should raise bros. Naenga, it's not new. It's not new that these African leaders rush to go and bend on their knees to states like the US or states in Europe. Considering even the livelihood of the Africans at home as the citizens. Maybe Museveni had his call on Zoom. Tetumanya.
No, Museveni he went on Zoom during the UN General Assembly because I don't know why Nenga Yajina ku Zoom where he made lies. He made some like good lies in front of the General Assembly, the one which was in New York. That's because I think that weekend we didn't come live, so because we were gonna talk about it, but teaja ku General Assembly. Then a week after, now ube mbaligana agenda Dubai eno nga ayambadde ebikooti biki that's kwegamba okugenda e Dubai ate kyali kyamaanyi nnyo okusinga okujja ku UN General Assembly ng'ate ye
olowooza teyali clone kubanga ngoye waziraba engatto wagiraba Museveni ayambala engatto ezo
byebimu either clone oba nga yezze oba the real person it's the same message it's the same lies it's who bears the lie ani are delivering lies it's the same person anyway but
in terms of this meeting and these agreements and ekiri okubeerawo in our region wetubeera kubanga ultimately these things will affect the African continent naye nga firstly it will affect ababeera within that East African region first kubanga jjukira Kenyatta right now abadde ali kulwana with Kenya and Somalia are fighting over a piece of land over a port at this moment in time kubanga Somalia went and said that belongs to them ne bakitwala to the international court criminal court ne bagamba yes it's Somalia Kenya n'agamba who's international criminal court otugamba on our on our where we tusalira so this might increase militancy and war against Somalia which will later on kigenda ku affecting domestic policies mu nsi nga Uganda Kenya Tanzania with hyper-militarizations. So let's not take these meetings lightly as the only result can be militancy.
But bayogedde on how to strengthen human rights, democracy, and
once you hear those words, human rights, democracy, security.
Yeah, and advancing regional peace and security and economic prosperity. Through climate smart solutions and the use of energy, of renewable energy resources.
Yeah, no, the most important thing in that, they always say this, improving regional security. Always. So, nebakulimba through reusable.
So, but this is so because to make olaba akantu kaba katono nnyo naye bongera terms simanyi the use of renewable energy resources for me I knew they were not going to talk about like education how to empower maybe youth or young women or they're going to construct hospitals or stuff like that. Never. Ate nekirala I don't know why whenever they talk about every African leader meets the president or whoever the head of state is from the US, they always talk about security wise naye bwe bagenda mu nsi endala the kangambe kati nga Israel babawa bwi sente to boost their technology
Israel with plus military training. That's how you boost technology.
Anyway, do you want to say anything about the other topics before we kick on the show?
I'm trying to think of the other topics.
The Haitians.
I think with what's happening in Haiti and Haitian the violence that happens in Haiti and the narratives of US citizens being kidnapped. Ojukira twakola show wano, it's giving a ring of what happened in Iran. Ojukira in Iran webakwata. So media, what the media puts out, especially Western media that is centered in the Americas, over Europe, and the narratives they wave, bagezako kupretending as though gangs za kidnappings bana abantu, they were not supported by the US money and US militancy and US raising a dictator in Haiti. US continuously has supported bad leadership and bad regimes in Haiti, of which Chechechiri Tubako was supporting Museveni for 35 years. So when you see violence like this happening in Haiti, we tuino kujukirambu Haitian gangs are full on supported by the corrupt governments, and those corrupt governments are put into place by imperialists, now the US, who support these governments with funds to kubanga they have to repress abantu. When people want change and want that government out, these governments, like government ya Jovenel Moïse, what it was doing was paying money to gangs that would go and terrorize communities. But now Jovenel Moïse is dead and a new president must come to rise. And now you see these gangs kidnapping American citizens. But the question should be, why?
They killed him.
Yeah,
He
they
was
did
killed.
actually. He was killed.
He was assassinated, yeah.
He was assassinated, of which his assassination is still sketchy. Anyway, about Haiti and what's happening in Haiti and the Haitian kidnap is Wobanga, you're tuning into this news and you're keeping your ear on the ground. Or Kumanya or Kwaula, the information that you do get, do seek out information that has a 360 view, or lemeku sigala in information of a 180 view. Kubanga bagenda ku demonizing a hate and make it seem like they are violent. They have adopted precious 15 American citizens, as though in Siyonayone no kankana if they catch 15 American citizens. You know, always value and exceptionalism is put on American citizens' life as long as they get to repress, disorganize, antagonize, and kill other people elsewhere. And most cases, it happens to be African peoples. So I'm not surprised this is happening in Haiti, and I'm not surprised gangs are now, there's a narrative where they are kidnapping American citizens, and it's making international news. This is the media playing the fourth house of the state, but that state happens to be happens to be in the US, of which the US munae Uganda right now. We're fighting imperialism as well in Musevenism. So same thing the Haitians are fighting and have been fighting for years. And then I think the last topic Jengendo Kugerako is topic ya omwami yafude Colin Powell.
The former US Secretary of State in the Bush administration.
So, and this is just my opinion. I know what the controversy of whether he should be celebrated because, he died a hero, or we should remember. Of course, we should remember that he lied. Watch it well, that he lied. Why is that even a question? Chiringangango kugamba binebyaba with Lokech. Mutwela bide the people he killed in Mogadishu. Or, these people have killed people. They are murderers. We should remember them as heroes. Nayanga, all they did put in this world was terror, fear, and death. So you can't just wake up and forget that these people caused tyranny. He was a puppet of the state. He enabled America to extend its military power beyond things like the Iraq War and what happened, Simanya weapons of mass destruction. Those policies allowed for America to introduce Mbuwe fighting terrorism. That's why tuina American military bases all over Africa. That's why tuina African dictators. That's why, kubanga just that action eyabakiriza to march into Iraq, to be able to march into Afghanistan, to be able to march into Saudi. No, they have never marched into Saudi because Saudi is their ally. To be able to go and march into Iran. Things like that have enabled them to march into our homes, Kati. To march into the African continent, set up military bases, support people like Museveni and Kagame. So no, Colin Powell did not die a hero. He died enabling American militancy, American American suppression of the people around the world, and American imperialism in general, and supporting the empire, which is, of course, empire only lives off white supremacy. So he did not die a hero. He died an enabler. He died an extent of tyranny. He lied. So many people died because of those statements that he made. And other people might lay him down as a hero, but history will not forget his actions.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. People are still dying actually after that, whatever.
Oh,
Because he
no,
went on
really?
60 Minutes, he confirmed, but even he went on Oprah Nambuza. Are you sure you're not trying to connect 9/11 to Saddam Hussein? Nagam, of course not. Why would you do that, Ngayekaza.
Mm.
Then a month after, UN Security Council Yatula Wansi, and they say they voted not to attack Iraq, Saddam Hussein. Then America negamba mugambye eki, okay, fe tugenda kuattakinga ngaffe, the way they did. So overruled the UN Security Council. UN ng'etudde ne bagamba musaaga
So,
fe tugenda kulumba ngaffe, nga ne beegatta n'ono ow'e UK, mwerabidde, former Prime Minister, I forgot his name, from the UK. Then ne bagenda ne bakola ki? Ne balumba. Then
those are
after some time ate ne bagamba ate bannange we were wrong. Naye we are trying to we try to avoid maybe future terror attacks, but byonna biri awo, it's all suckers. Anyway,
naye like
Tony Blair. Yeah, actually, even Tony Blair facing so much backlash uh, after attacking Iraq, or about people from UK, they put him on pressure. Yeah, they put him on pressure. You're siding with Bush to attack an innocent person. Trying to connect this to that. But anyway, that was enough for the news headlines we had for this week. So we're going to begin the show, and the first topic of today is Shaka. I'm sure most of you guys have heard about Shaka Zulu. They've made so many movies made about him, and also the Black Panther, the latest movie, also kind of talks about Shaka, kind of a little bit. So, who's Shaka Zulu? He ruled Zulu from 1816 to 1828. He led one of the most powerful armies, which fought European imperialism through his strong army and so many reforms he did. How did Shaka Zulu come to power, and how was this? How did he come to be? Who up to today? Actually, there is a day in September in South Africa called the Shaka Day, where they remember his legacy. So Shaka, he was born to one Chief Yakina of Zulu, but where this chief rejected. He rejected him, and he didn't identify him as his son. So Shaka grew up with his mom all the way through his childhood, and as he came closer to his youthful ages, he joined one of the little fighting units, which was called Ibota Limpi. So after being there for several years, he gained so much experience. He became a warrior, he became a fighter, and he became so fierce that when he was leading these little units, he started talking to other small villages, the ones who had other little fighting units. He was like, why don't we guys come together so we can maybe fight our enemies avoid future raids, some conflict stuff like that, and it will make us strong. So he formed alliance with so many little armies. When you get so many little armies together, you make a very strong army. Omuganda agamba agali awamu gegakola ki? Gegaluma ennyama. So yeah. So when Shaka formed the alliance with so many tiny little armies, he formed a really strong army, like a really strong army. So when his dad died, because his dad he didn't identify Shaka as his son. So Shaka's little brother became the king. So Shaka was like, "Oh, so you're going to be the king, and I'm going to protect you. So without me, you're nothing. So who's the king?" He asked his little brother, and it is said he killed his brother, just a form to show dominancy, because he was fierce. He didn't fear anything. So when Shaka became president, he not president, sorry. When he became the king of Zulu, he surrounded himself with so many with people of high intellect, because he accepted, he himself said he's not good with he was just a fighter, so he wasn't good with everything. So he surrounded himself with people with who had experience with other things, which helped to develop build the Zulu Empire. I'll give you an example. It's like Katingam, Uganda. If the minister of education stopped in P2 or in senior two, how do you expect somebody a dropout of senior two to lead the higher, the whole education of the entire country? There is somebody there. I think I saw one of the articles. Somebody said an MP only needs a senior six certificate to make policies affecting somebody with a PhD. So is that being effective, or is that being efficient? Is that what is it? So on the other thing, so Shaka, we had a little video we're going to play, but because of copyright, we cannot play it. He really fought, like he resisted the imperialists. In one of the clips we're going to play, they kind of, many of these imperialists, when they came, they thought he was a stupid guy. Even some of the questions they asked him, but he kind of played out. Yabazanyira ku bwongo, like he played with their mind. Like somebody asks, ayinza okubuuza ekibuuzo naye nga you reverse the question and ask them back. It's kind of like the Socratic approach, Socrates. If you guys are familiar with that philosopher. So and one of the reasons why he was very successful and remembered today, he used so many tactics in his army, and one of those was the use of short spears with a shield, and together with these it was called the lion. Sorry, it was called the cow horn battle approach, where they would come in form of like a horn like structure to capture their enemies, and that's how he was like really successful. What can we learn about Shaka? For me personally, what I learned from him, the reason he was very successful was he united so many little groups together which formed a very strong like army or society. Kino kituyamba ati how can we learn from this? Like katinga mu struggle gye tulimu this time, bw'olaba ng'omuntu ng'alina ky'akola just weegatte naye instead okumuwalana, weegatte naye, and that's how you guys can reach like your goals, but if you decide to be separate nogamba ate fe mu struggle fe abasinga fe tulina ogikulembera ate mwe mujje after that, there is no way that's gonna like be effective at all right, so Desire, anything you want to say about Shaka Zulu?
Zulu nation shocked and defied imperialist march into Zulu nation Naenga. One thing that is prominent, one thing that always is not shocking Naenga. I think from today's stories, because today together more story time, we're telling stories in history, times in history. Naenga, one thing that's very prominent in both these stories, together finding is that we fought back. Usually we're about to somesa history, but to somesa like abazungu baja, and they just took over. There was no resistance. Nayenga to coming up from a lineage of people who have always fought back. Like this was happening all over the African continent. People were fighting back to keep their independence. Kubanga, our ancestors, it's not like they didn't know what was happening. Someone had come to dominate them and take over the way how they govern themselves. I think at on we're talking on federacy and bringing back our forms of leadership. Those things still exist to today, and the imperialistic empire echarana to destroy those things. That's why Museveni atulemeza mu unitary. Kubanga, people like Shaka Zulu and him having having the Zulu nation, having it together, having it politically organized, socially organized, those were things that white people could not justify why they should come and rule there. Kubanga, the justification jebakola to rule an African, bari bagamba mbu we don't have the capability and the ability okwefuga, and bari bagamba mbu we needed them to become civilized. Now we were already civilizations. We already had civilizations. So these people were obstacles. Until this day, our forms of leadership have also become a blockade to people like Museveni. He has to fight Buganda Kingdom, Kubanga. He has to justify fenafeno kuba muchitole. I know Kurani Sabunyoro, okuba bakwe eby'obugagga. So these things repeat themselves. Now, one thing that I take away from these stories is resistance. They didn't just walk into Zulu nebatedisa. They had to fight. Omanyi okutegeeza okulwana ng'oli alwana na mundu nga gw'olina spear. So that's what I take from Shaka's story. And the Zulu nation.
And also Shaka Zulu, the Zulu nation, they were Bantu people who went to South Africa. So there is literally no difference between us and them. And in addition to that, one of the reasons why what really made him like so powerful was after he won the Zulu Civil War. Then that's when he became fierce. Like he became the warrior of the century. He even told his soldiers, if you're not fierce, just don't be in my army. Like, everyone in his army was like so fierce, and you could even see this in the eyes of the when the imperialists came, like all through his interviews. There is you can watch a few clips on YouTube. You can like really see the entire background of the story. But as Desire said, like these people were like really fierce. They were fighters, and it's so sad. Like history only remembers, like people only remember them for the sake of making money. Like Hollywood made a movie out of Shaka Zulu just to make money, not because they really like him, but they just did it for the sake of making money. It's the same thing as the same movie they did about the Black Panther. But they say Shaka Zulu is the original Black Panther, although the story was a little bit twisted to change, the theme of the story. But he's the real Black Panther, and we should remember him for that. All right. So right now we're gonna talk about the Dahomey Kingdom, and Desire is gonna take us through that.
Okay, so now we're going to switch gears. We're going all the way to West Africa from South Africa. We're going all the way west, and we're going to what was known as the Dahomey Kingdom. So, producer, if you could please bring on the Dahomey. But as the producer gets those images ready, is how did the Dahomey Kingdom come to be? So this was a kingdom that existed between the 18th and 19th century, and it was a small kingdom. As I said, it was in West Africa. But what this kingdom was known for, and what I'm going to spend my time talking about today, the Europeans, when they came to West Africa looking for people to take into the Atlantic slavery, because this was started out by the Spanish and the Portuguese. In this century, we're talking about 17th, 18th century, when the enslavement of African peoples was happening and they were being shipped across the Atlantic, they came across what Europeans would name as the Dahomey Amazonians. And these were female fighters that were fighting in this kingdom, who were known for their ferocity. They were known to be fierce. They were feared. They were respected. They were had they and also Black Panther movie. All those women that you saw. If you've watched Black Panther, babakazi bemwalaba abari bagadinga, they were actually that was a tribute to the Dahomey female fighters. Nayenga, the question is, how did the Dahomey female fighters come to be? And how did that come to happen? So during that time, what was happening around that region in West Africa, I've talked about how Europeans were coming to get Africans to enslave them and ship them. And the hardest thing that was happening in that time for African leaders and African kingdoms was that Europeans were not negotiating anything other than enslaving people. Like, no, even though you told Europeans, when they teach us history, we're taught that when Europeans came, Africans just sold away their people into slavery just cause. But it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that plain. Europeans did not want Katinga. We talked about Kabaka Mwanga, where he said, "I just want protection," or I just want trade," and Europeans said no. It's the same thing that was happening in West Africa, whereby in Dahomey they tried to negotiate and said, we can trade you this and that, because Africans have been trading for a long period of time. African civilizations had been trading for a long period of time. We can trace this back to the Egyptian civilization and whatever. In that period of time, Dahomey had two people it had to fight off. Number one was the Europeans, who wanted Dahomey population as to put them into to enslave them. And number two was Dahomey was very small, but Ohoyo Empire was really big, which is the Yoruba people now, present day. And they used to pay tribute to the Yoruba people. So it was really stuck between a rock and a hard place. So Nebasalawo, if that's the case, we're going to become militarily fierce. And we won't give our people into enslavement. Nayenga, we will raid places and sell them instead of us to grow our economy, exchange them for guns. So there's a misconception that Dahomey directly wanted to give away people and sell African slavery, but people forget the context whereby Europeans wanted nothing other than slaves, other than to retrieve and enslave African peoples when they came during that period of time. Even though, because we had a lot of things, backcloth, gold, diamond, and all those things. But Europe needed labor, and also the Americas, which were European colonies, needed labor, and also the other colonies that they had gotten, like Cuba, Puerto Rico, Haiti, all these islands in the Caribbean. They wanted to grow plantations and they needed labor. That's why the first capital was the African. So they needed to enslave people. So what the Dahomey Kingdom did, batandika nakutraininga abalenzi baabwe. Buli mulenzi at the age of 11, you had to enter the military, and you would start off ng'ogenda n'obeera like a porter boy, ng'ositulirako abantu ebyuma and whatever. Naye they weren't strong and their population was very small. So then they started putting the women into the army as well. The women started out as elephant hunters, but elephant hunters had already existed. And then the step that really institutionalized women into the military was when women became guards of the king. And we saw that happening in the Black Panther movie. That's where they get the footprint for that story. They started being royal guards. The first battle that they fought, Bajirana, I forgot, I'm blanking out on Ani Gwebadi Baranisa, but whoever Gwebadi Baranisa was so taken aback. It was who did they raid? I think they raided Oyo, which is the Yoruba peoples were living in Oyo Empire. They raided Oyo. Bari so surprised.
Is that in Nigeria?
Yeah, this is all in Nigeria, present day Nigeria.
Yeah.
Nigeria and Ghana, that region, because they were also close to Asante, which is in present day Ghana. But the story of Dahomey is that one of the things that these women are fiercely remembered for, and you'll see it in the art, is bali ba Dahomey nga bakuranisa ne bakusalako emitwe. That's the story gye twawulira, whereby basalako emitwe gy'abantu who had come to or to take away and enslave people. Ne babasalako emitwe ne babaziika wansi ne babatambulako. On a stick. They were notorious for that. Then the women became part of the royal guard. Then the women became fighters. And because they did not want to enslave their own people and their populations, they used to raid other places and then sell those ones into enslavement. You can never trust a European to keep an agreement. Kubanga later on Europeans actually invaded Dahomey, and then when they invaded Dahomey, they enslaved people. Naenga, the legacy of these female fighters lives on even up until the Haitian Revolution, because Wadiwo producer, if you can bring Aunt Toya's picture, she's remembered in history. Yadi Aitibwa Toya Monsu, who was at Dahomey. Babaita Amazonians. If you want to look into the story further and Google it, they were called the Amazonians. But Aunt Toya, Europeans raided and actually crushed Dahomey and took so many of them into enslavement. She ended up she was an Amazonian fighter as well, trained and everything. She ended up going to Haiti, and then where I took a Haiti, on a plantation. Freeing, because remember, this is a trained militant. Freeing, where Malo freeing, and then she met a woman called Elizabeth Eyazala, who now we know as Jean Jacques, ran in the Haitian Revolution. Call her the Declaration of Haitian Independence, and then Toya Montu raised Elizabeth Yasaba, that she raises her child, who is Jean Jacques. And then Yeyamukuza Namu training at the age of 52, when Haitians were fighting, they were fighting Napoleon for independence, because the French owned the Haitian plantation. The Africans on then, and then they were fighting Napoleon at that time. Can you imagine Napoleon? How Haiti really fought and destroyed. It was the start of the fall of Napoleon. Kubanga, he lost that Haitian colony. Yeah. Bebaransa. Kati ono omchala Toya Montu at the age of 52 led a battalion during the Haitian Revolution. Jukira try get on the Haitian Revolution. It lasted for years, a decade, but they were fighting Napoleon at that period of time and Napoleon's imperialism onto Haiti and enslavement of African peoples in Haiti. And Haiti became the first independent black nation that had been dominated by all of us African people. We were never
Wait,
dominated.
Desire
Hmm?
lindako. Ono
Yeah.
omukyala bwe yali ku myaka gya Nambooze, cause Nambooze naye ali 52.
Yeah.
Nambooze ono wanno.
Naye wabaki. Ono
Nedda
yali dinga
bweki
battalion.
anti ye Nambooze. Omukyala yali ku myaka gya Nambooze yali dinga battalion okugenda mu lutalo.
Yeah, Atenga,
Yeah,
she was
'cause
fighting for her life. So she's remembered in history and Haitians, Bajja Kugamba, that's Aunt Toya. Naye kikulaga how strong the legacy of these Amazonians were, in that all the way from Dahomey, Ogendo kuwulira that, and Dahomey, Amazonia, was involved in the liberation of Haiti, the first African state to gain independence from Western imperialism, and is still paying for it till this day. Nayenga, the legacy that is left behind by these strong, fierce women is something that we also wanted to bring to the table today, is that militancy bajijjamu nnyo in African women. They make us seem docile, nga abatali balwanyi, abatalina kye bakola. Nayenga, this is not the first time in African history where women body at the forefront of the military. Tusobola okwogera on so many other scenarios. In Mozambique liberation struggle, you had women. Eritrea, Somalia, liberation struggles, zona, you had women at the forefront. So what I learned from these stories is that our mothers, our sisters, all those women were heavily involved in the fight against imperialism, and they remain involved today, not only mu biyungu nga bafumba buugi, but also on the front lines,
yeah.
but also on the front lines, and this legacy still lives on. And here we can see Aunt Toya, how she fought imperialism while on Africa, and she fought imperialism when raided and abducted into slavery in Haiti, and led to the liberation of Haiti. Kubanga omutabani gwe yakuza ya ending up nga ya liberate ya ending up nga what declaration of Haitian liberation, ne bamunaminga ne emperor of Haiti when Haiti liberated itself from the French. So yeah, hopefully munyumidwa this story about Dahomey and Zulu Nation. We are a fierce people, and everyone has that fierce capacity. Just you have to tap into it, and the possibility is there. The African people will always fought to liberate ourselves from other people dominating us. Nayenga, that's Dahomey, and that's the Dahomey Amazonians for you. They used to be called, at that point in time, the Badi Babaita, they wouldn't have been called Minos, but Minos is also another name Josoro Basanga with, but Europeans named them the Amazonians.
Wow, that was a good comparison. Actually, that's I'm sure because sometimes I want to. You can even ask them how many civilizations were in, or empires were in Africa. Guys, most of the people think they were only less than 5, but I can give you some of the civilizations ezali mu, like empires ezali mu Africa.
So many.
1, the Zulu, Yetwogeddeko. 2, the Dahomey Kingdom. Waliwo the Benin Empire. Waliwo the Ashanti. Waliwo the Yausa city-state. Waliwo the Kenan Mbono Empire. Waliwo the Sokoto Caliphate. Waliwo the Ajuran Empire.
We can be here the whole day.
Waliwo Abdal Sultanate. Waliwo the Sultanate of the Geledi. waliwo the Egyptian Empire, waliwo the Mali Empire, waliwo the Songhai Empire, Ascub, waliwo ne the
Buganda,
Kushite Empire. Ninji, we
waliwo
cannot
ne
finish them. So this
Buganda,
already
Bunyoro,
shows that.
Kitara.
Anti kati wano tetunajja, we just tuli mu west, tuli mu south, there is a lot. Waliwo ne zino zonna zimawumawu, zimajimaji, all those are what they were little, but still they have an impact. So this already shows abantu bedda, when they wanted change, tebaali mu byamasapesape, simanyi okwanjula, simanyi ki, dictators mu banegotiating nabo baabo, they already had guns. This was early 19 before early 19s. But you see people baine nke usinke bete wanze ndabo bubi.
No, yeah, Banti trading for guns boosting their military. So yeah, buying arms. Wanga. Abazungu batu dominating for this long, and why it's so very important. Omuzungu ye yasoko lete chikompola ne gun onto the African state. Fetwali awo nga just, you know, nga waliwo omanyi batuteka nnyo mu bwongo as African people generally mbu mwatunda abammwe, you know, mwabatunda abammwe. Naye nyina omuvubuka omusomesa wange yaŋŋamba, gwe waaba gwe nga wali tolabangako kikompola oli n'akikuba ne kyabikira eri n'akugamba genda ondeetera abantu, tewandikikoze. Kubanga our people had never seen weaponry such as this. That's what Europe had. Europe had war vessels, body ready for war. And they came onto the African continent, never later that tyranny. That's why Museveni omuwulira gani agikuliriza. That's why banobo no bawulira bogera ku spirit.
I tend to defend that. Yeah, some of the Katinga Dahomey Empire, but our slaves were batunda. Most of them were enemies or prisoners. Bebamazo capturing oteged. Nga kati abazungu webajja ne bagamba mutwe ba slaves kati ba Dahomey n'abalala nga bawaya abasibe abali tebakolagana nabo. I mean, wabagwe humudyo owaya abantu obo waya abasibe. So it's the same thing with the Buganda, even though when they all came, era nga tuwayo bani basibe. So abantu some people bajja kikootinga bubi, but most of the people who were being sold were either prisoners or people who were categorized as a moral threat to the society. You know, some sort of a kind, something like that.
I think that that's even not too much important, Nayenga. What people can take from this was Europeans wanted nothing from the African continent in that period of time. Bari bagalas to enslave Africans. It was not a negotiation. Tebyali nti kale fete twagala tunda bantu, we're morally right to jakuba wa gold. They didn't want your gold. Bari bagala Africans to enslave in the Americas, okukuza their colonies that they had gone nebabba ne ku bantu bebasanga yeeyo, like ensi ze tubeera mu US and Canada, kubanga there were indigenous people here. So chikulaga just Europe's expansion as an empire, kubanga that's the empire je tulimu as of now, tuchali in that European empire of dominance. What it means, the violence.
My question of the day, Mbalenyaga kubuza, are Africans still enslaved? Or why we broke the chains?
We're still on a plantation. Omani, it's not about kubanga the yani yaleta chine chibuzo yagamba. It's not about moso kati being enslaved. It's like ochimani mbu we are on a plantation. It's about knowing. Kati gochimani mbu tuli on a plantation. But we're still fighting for our liberation. Kubanga we've never gotten that. Ngamba, did you get your liberation and freedom? Je tutamanyiko?
Ate nandibadde wano nga ndego oluba watch sandibadde ku boat cruise. Singa siri ku boat cruise.
Naye tolichita.
Naye plantation erimu boat cruise njagala.
Fena tuchali, we're still, it's about Ochimanyi Mbutucha Ranida, our freedom and liberation, of which there's people who understand this more than other people. Kubanga, their day-to-day life, Bacha Ranida, their material needs, Bacha Ranida Kudia,
Wait,
Bacha Ranida security, Bari Muduka Duka, you know. Bari kati ng'abantu e Somalia tosobola bagamba, do you know mukyali nga Omumerica baatisa ebikompola every now and then, drone killings. Omuntu somewhere nga e Uganda kati with Museveni tosobola tandika tubuuza oba tukimanyi, you know, fena tukimanyite, we're not free yet.
There is a famous quote from Malcolm X about the field Negro and the house Negro. So, ngayogera about who are the field Negroes and who are the house Negroes, and how the field Negroes are trying to free themselves, but the house Negro abalemesa agamba ati mwe mwagala ki temulaba wana at least twina freedom. Mubadde ki mukakkane kulwaki mulwana tusobola okuteesa kati house Negro olw'okuba yali kumpi ali kumpi ne cake bamuwaako ate n'afuna n'adda n'awaako bano abali mu field, kati abali mu field baba baagala okulwana, ono ali mu house n'agamba ate mwe mubadde ki mwagala mulete obuzibu, you know. Kati bafield Negro beba foot soldier n'abantu ba wansi era be bafa. Ba house Negro bo tebafa. Era like chances are like ba house Negro tebakuba emigo tegibakuba, gibayitako obuyisi bwe bati, era abamu omuggo gumuyitako bwe bati ekigende kimenyeka nekikola amawulire. You know, so this is the society we're living in, you know. Some people, they are being used, which is very sad. Ate ekisinga abantu abasinga okukozesebwa wabagambako ate obusungu ne bubaluma ate ne baddira gwe abagambye instead of ogendani ono abakozesa. Otegedde? You know, people are dying, which is the singa abantu bali tebafa, that would be fine, you know. We'd try to be joking, you know, but in a case where people are dying, it's not it's not comedy anymore, man. In the singing struggle, no one died. I would be making fun of anyone. But it's the same thing. It's all our politics. Actually, we need to talk about this maybe next time. We compare politics wa other countries, na there are politics wa America, ne politics wa Uganda. Politics wa America, okay, harimu corruption, ne lobbying, you know, bagula politician ne bamuwase ne bagamba yogera atwa isazi no policies ezaffe naye temuli kufa. Mulimu kufa naye si kwa maanyi nnyo, you know. Naye e Uganda
ate nga kwamaanyi nnyo kubanga politics wa America yakkiriza ebintu nga attack Iraq, attack Afghanistan, abantu bonna baba bafa, temulimu kufa kwa nnyo naye waabwe abantu waliyo abantu abafa. America is good at hiding and lying. Bebatandika Sendoza, that's the one empire. Well, it's the last standing empire of Western expansion, America and Canada. Bano abantu balimba. Oh my goodness, balimba. Ogenda n'olaba amawulire obumanyi olaba amawulire nga
you know, like Fox News. I was kind of comparing like like during a elections kangamenga Joe Biden, Afghanistan and Trump, like within the election cycle abantu tebafa nnyo nkimanyi they after, you know, nga zem office ne bakola politics policies, you know, people die, but wanonga campaign during campaigns, you know, campaign ya Joe Biden ne Trump zisalabayo muntu afa, you know, but
it's
okay bayinza okubeera nga baalimu, you know, but a few, but ne bodde Uganda campaign mukka batta abantu.
naye kankubuuze then ekibuuzo, isn't it that okukuliriza image media gyeteekayo mbu Museveni is a dictator and Uganda must have violent elections? Tekuliriza kubanga zino media houses BBC whatever zijja kujja buli mwaka every 5 years okucoveringa Museveni during elections ne bagamba mbu the elections were somewhat violent but Museveni won. Tebabyogera buli kaseera. Museveni, acclaimed dictator, won the election after the count. Naye ne bagamba it was a little bit violent. So ndoza, that's the image. That's why kati tuina nze kibuuzo ekyange kiri nti tekyaligenda mu kalulu bannayuganda. Do we really have to go to another election? Kubanga batu expecting to go to an election, bagambe the election was violent, naye Museveni won. Yeyo image gye tuina, that's the branding. Nalaba no mu America during wano Trump we yali alemedde kombo akalulu bakabye. America nagamba this is not Uganda. Nengamba why? Tutubako. Yeyo image gye mutuwako.
Ne ekyo kyogambye mbu abantu bagaana okugenda okulonda kati gy'osonyonyi mu parliament anaddayo atya olowooza ajja kukkiriza something like that? Sekawere
yabagamba bw'oba tosobola kutambula weewalule yeewalula mu parliament naye nga tafunye kalulu ka muntu kubanga if you wait for the next election same recipe bagenda kubalanga
abantu already bali mu mood ya election bali ready okuddayo balonde, you know, people are already excited. What are you talking about?
It's like Museveni yatekawo elections kutta bantu like kubanga we already
era
have that
bali kumpi kugamba mutandika okufuna endagamuntu muddeyo, you know, something like that kyekigenda okuddako ate what else? Nze I'm excited in an election era baddeyo abakuba emiggo.
naye nga it's such a pity and it's such a shame kubanga omanyi tujja wano ne tubyogerako naye nga last campaign and the upcoming campaign okulaba abavubuka abo abato abalina dreams and hopes for what Uganda can be abaali bajja ne boogera ne bagamba twagala kukyusa bino nga nalaba press conferences nyingi zonna eza Joel Sonyonyi, you know, like people had their hopes and aspirations zonna tied up mu kyebali bakuliriza. Only now kati twebuuza where did those fierce leaders go? Balagawa, those people who would come out and, you know, not keep silent in the midst of injustice. So much injustice is still happening. Ne Masaka sinabawulirako nga bajoogerako. So much injustice is still happening. Masaka bijambia tebajogeddeeko enough. Babadde beetala mu mbaga. It's a disappointment. Ate nga mwakozesa that election period okwogera about the Ugandan violence, setting that image. Bye bimu Besigye bye yakola nkugambya kazanyo recipe yemu. During election period, bagenda kuliriza babere everywhere in the media. Violence, Museveni violence, dictator. Naye nga after elections, why? Muri okay?
How many years is it? Wabula emyaka emeka?
Museveni has lifetime presidency, so yeah, asobola no calling election next year.
Abannayuganda babula emyaka emeka baddeyo balonde nti baagala nnyo okulonda. Yeah, lindako like wait in like 2 years buli omu ajja kuba yeerabidde abaana ba pseudo ideology bakomewo ne agenda breaking ground bagikube ku meeza bagaye kuluna agenda. Hey, yeah, mulinde abaana ba pseudo mubazanyisa muddeyo mulabe show eza sudo nga babasomesa sudo kati bali eyo baba brain babagamba mulina okwogera bwe muti mulina okwogera kyoba olaba zake honorable zake olaba bwe yali ayogera like a few years ago ng'olaba abulamu naye kati olaba engeri gy'ayogeramu yakyuka ne edda ng'ayinza okuba wembo nolaba nga his fight naye kati olaba people changing kyekimu even Bobi Wine olaba Bobi Wine bwe yajja kana akawala ka Shira Gashumba ne kamubuuza physical policy Bobi Wine bamuzaayo ne bamusomesa nogamba katiibwa aleeta kinoyogera kyo naye kati Bobi Wine somubuuza physical policy n'atakuddamu mu paragraph nga 5 mulindeeko in a few years bagenda kuleeta agenda eyaliwo before bagiyita we are removing a dictator ne baleeta entebe mu ntebe ne baleeta ekibi mwerabira muyinza ogamba bineyo tubyogera tukudaala but these are all facts ne baleeta byaliwo nga bagamba entebe mu ntebe nange muli neŋŋamba ku luno nzikiriza naye nga what happened naye ng'omuntu oyinza n'omugamba entebe mu ntebe what happened n'akuvuma n'agamba lwaki oyogera ku ekyo manyi tujja mujjako lwaki otumalamu amaanyi ate nze nakireeta wano tubeera wano ne tugamba Museveni alimba akozesa obwenge kati omuntu yaleeta entebe mu ntebe naye teyatulimba lwaki tetumugambako so that next time ayogera amazima omanyi if you're open nogamba we are trying to remove a dictator leero nojja nogamba as I said we are trying I didn't say we are removing him I would go with you naye waliwo video gyenina we can play it but erimu omusaayi omwana bamukuba essasi ku lubuto ekyenda ne kivaayo ne bamubuuza yofaaki Bobi Wine alina okulayira ffe tugenda kuyiwawo omubiri olina mubuuza omubiri oyiwawo gwaki kubanga mwe temwagala guyiwawo ng'olabira ddala ono agenda kufa afiira ekintu kyatamanyi naye nga it's like a way omanyi ono Hitler yagamba ensi abantu bembu abajju be bakola ki they are bad people era buli ne babatta just one person can make the whole society go wrong something like that but it was just one person leading to the death of so many people because people believe him kyayogedde kyekituufu it's the same thing nga Donald Trump yagamba akalulu bakabbye people risk their life ne bagenda ne attacking a capital building and now today they are facing trials even some of them died tajja kulayira abaana bayiwawo omubiri oli mugamba lwaki oyiwamu omubiri tugenda ntebe mu ntebe kyo nnemesa n'agenda boom ne bakuba so I mean ekintu ekirimu okutta abantu bafa because omuntu ayogedde statement etaliko mutwe n'amagulu I'm not with that that's not fair something like that anyway tuve mu politics wa Uganda
I think like connecting back to lero kyetubadde twogerako is that if you're going to be a fierce fighter kubanga already your spirit to fight for our freedom and liberation tegenda tuvaako until we're free tejja kuva ku baana baffe kubanga waba akunyigiriza oba okiwulira mpozi nga ffenna abafirika tuvudde ku nsi eno and we don't exist ku nsi eno bagenda kweyongerako right now tutudde ku continent with the most resources mu nsi yonna olowooza bagenda lekerawo tukyokoza. It will never end paka nga tweliberating nze. And I think connecting it back to topics that twabadde twogedde about today n'abaana abaayiwawo omubiri is that we are always ready okulwanira our freedom. Naye banaye tuleme goberera individual statements n'abantu. Bwe twogera on Zulu Nation or Dahomey Kingdom, bano abantu nabo baayiwawo omubiri, but it was for a principle that was securing their kingdom. Si kutaasa kabaka waabwe, but securing their kingdom as a whole. Kingdom yaabwe ebeerewo thriving. Nga tekiggwa ku muntu omu yekka. Ffe twagenda ne tukola ki ne tu uplifting Bobi Wine ne tumuteekawo na pedestal. Sigenda kwegana nange naliyo nakikola without overthinking. Natandika ku realizing after nga puzzle egudde, like omanyi nga woba ozannya dominoes, woba ozannyeko dominoes nga zitandise okugwa. Dominoes zaali zigwa ne ngamba bana ebintu tebitegerekeka. That's when I started to realize ddala ngoberedde omuntu with just ng'abadde with just si muntu omu yekka kubanga Bobi Wine teyali yekka, alina supporting cast Ssenyonyi Zaake, Honorable Segirinya, Bashami Malende, but it was like tugobedde the political party ne tutababuuza what their ideology is. Bana tuwabeerewo grounding ideology to why you do something. But their ideology was protect the kingdom for its growth and its prosperity, protect our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is important. The right fe okwefuga, the right fe okuba free, the right fe okusalawo ki kye twagala okukola na nfuga ki na ndya ki gye twagala. Bobi Wine yatugamba na nfuga ki gye yali agenda tufuga. Naye nze namugoberera lwakuba era yalimbamu ebintu ebimu byali ayogera byali bi aligning with my economics. Naye then realizing nga meeting America nengamba America tasobola kukkiriza okole those economic policies. Webaba nga zoga yo allies. Nzaawe natandika okirabira mbu kino kiyinza obba banaye. Si kyakabi ngawe nali ndowooza kyakabi abantu bafudde bwereere nalaba Bobi Wine ng'ali too rubby-dubby with the Americans ng'ate policies ze economically Omumerica tasobola kuleka okole those policies awo oba weerimbye. And Museveni naye yalimba mbu policies ze zaali abantu economically naye kati policies ze tuziraba kwerabirira na family ye. History
Bebe Kulu yayimba yagamba ffe tuba tulwana nga bo bassa kimu. Naye nze bwe mpulira ennyimba za Bobi Wine nungi because ezisinga it's based on reality, you know. But anyway, the problem I think which is really affecting maybe the politics of Bana Uganda, it's tukkiriza mangu without doing research ourselves. So, and at the end of the day, we are heartbroken. Obusungu bulinnye nnyo ne tutandika playing blame games, you know, something like that. So we are vulnerable and we are very tuliba victim, you know, because olwokuba we are so desperate for change.
Our desperation for change so much.
Yeah, exactly. That's I think that's the only thing. Until we accept that, that's when we can, you know, move forward. Olaba nga Bobi Wine yakajja nongamba federal nengamba teguleeta kinaawo olaba wano tugenda tu naye kati ndaba singa twakitandika naye nga before nga bw'oleeta kati kya federal bagamba ono alabika ki otujja ku mulamu olaba wano tugenda ate obadde ki ojja tusangayo mumugendeyo ffe mujja tusangayo naye kati where is it? But it's because of the desperation, you know. Until tukikkiriza we have that anger, tulina obusungu obwo bukola ki obwa change naye nga tulina oku we need to tulina ekikemo ekya change naye we need to control our feelings. Otherwise we shall be easily trapped, because these people know psychologically they know how to play mind games. So that's why bajja ne balimba and after they will get away with it, and after they will come back ne baddamu ne batulimba, and after they will get away with it. Kati gwe obuuza how was Besigye able to do this for 20 years, and he's still coming back. Omulaba, he's still trying a way to come back even after lying for 20 years. He's still finding a way to come back. Kati Bob Wine, kati Bob Wine ye bw'abala 20 years, because basically did it, I can did it. Something like that. So I think we need to find a way to control our feelings, our desperation, educate, be like independent. Don't be dependent on somebody for something. Beranga, you think by yourself. Be a fighter. Be a warrior, not a warrior. So something happens, find a way to motivate yourself. Bofuna, botegera mbu gundi yatuliddemu olukwe kati nga chameleon luli bwe yafukamira ne bamuwa Range Rover, something. Ng'obadde fan wa chameleon ng'olowooza abadde mu struggle. Find a way to always motivate yourself no matter what, whatever is happening. So many things will come, so many people will be exposed. Hey, gundi naye ali munyampi, So just find a way to always, keep yourself strong physically, mentally, and emotionally. Those were my words for today. Desire, do you have anything to say before we close the show?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I can say is that the only way that we're going to be able to do this and free ourselves is, first of all, lies in educating yourself of the truth. Kubanga, so many lies have been told about so many empires that we're living in today. Like, for now, we live in a world whereby we think America is this first world-class country that is just and has a right okugenda okurwana in other places, bw'oba olina okuteesa with America, bw'oba olina okukola ki. Naye nga the reality is that if America did not have AFRICOM and African soldiers and American soldiers in African countries, during Obama's regime, by introducing drone killings, nga eyo drone mwe gye mukwata ne muzannya nayo ne mukwata footage, they introduced that to the public okuginormalizing, because what the Americans did is bagenda ne bagattako emmundu ne bagenda mu bifo ne batta abantu remotely. That's how we batta family mu Afghanistan, family gye battira mu moto babatta remotely via drones. Era yali musirikale mu America ye yavaayo n'agamba, this is terrible kye tuli okukola, we're killing people. They don't even keep a body count. Like abantu abatibibwa drones, they don't keep a body count of basse bameka ani gwe basse. Era yali musirikale mu America, mwerabidde erinnya, right now I'm blanking out, naye nga ba ending up nga bamusibye, bamusiba ne bamuwa jail time for revealing American military secrets. Naye nga they involve killing of
Yeah, ababeera ku zi drone babeera nga abazanya video game.
Babanga abazanya video game, like that's
naye in reality I saw that. Yeah, it's
and they are dying like that all over Africa. Kubanga, one of the drone making companies, nerabidde what country it is, nayenga it's in West Africa, is where they make these drones. nowhere in the world could they make these drones. Naewano they do. On African continent they can. So banaye abafirika, start educating yourself about who your enemy is. Ate mulekera okwegomba ekintu which is so foul and which is built on your oppression. Kubanga, for these empires to exist like Europe and the Americas, we had to be oppressed. That's why over Africa, ngovudeyo ngokaba, wogenda America, nothing changes for you. Still, over you're still under oppression or being oppressed. So at the end of the day, I think the message Jenino Gambeya today is that we are still fighting the same imperialism Shaka Zulu Rana. We are still fighting the same imperialism Dahomey Kingdom warriors Barana. We're still fighting the same imperialism Kabaka Mwanga was still fighting. Katinga Gwongamba, I should go talk to those imperialists to liberate me. Ngabako free diruchi. So, and this has infiltration in the confusion. The more we're confused, the more we're confused, the more we lose track. Because look at this confusion. Banobaba Demo Revolution recently.
Wait, Desire wagambye tuli ku plantation naye no plantation njagadde oba nze ndi in the wrong position naye olaba abantu banyumirwa
bali in the house or in the field.
Anti nakugambye waliwo field negro ne house negro, two things.
Yeah, you know? So those gimmicks zichaliwo up until today. Chetulina okumanya a structure was put into place where bajja enslaving African peoples ne babatwala mu the Americas, then ne bakomawo ne batucolonizing. A template was made and put into place that dominates the world and affects African peoples. Wadde tuli ku continent oba tuvudde ku continent. Kati to what I was saying, the only ways we can fight this is number one, manya okunyonya amazima. Kubanga this system, even when it's telling you a truth, Kwame Ture Yagamba, even when they're telling you the truth, they are lying. Nyonya amazima go. Nyonya ekituufu. Ekirala ekyokubiri. The only way you can find the truth, banai, in interacting with history. Musome mumanye ebintu bingi bikwekebwa, bintu bingi olowooza lwaki bagamba omuddugavu oba oyagala mukweka ekintu kiteeke mu kitabo, batujooga batumanyira naye abaddugavu baawandika ebitabo ng'ate on plantations baali tebakkirizibwa kuwandika bitabo. In Africa, most of the traditions were oral until recently, but people still wrote. So we have endeavored to keep a huge part of our history. It's your responsibility okujimanya and stay involved with it. And number three, the only other way we can do it is fena we have to come to a consciousness collectively of okumanya tusobola okwefuga fenga abafirika nga Kwame Nkrumah we yagamba on independence yagamba, it is now time for the world to know that an African can govern themselves. Echo like to the mu history manyambu wogena no soma like what Europeans thought of Africans. Baloza were the missing link between animal and human, but tetulina that capability. That eyendo was a chaliwo to this day. Unoolaba engeri Museveni gyatwogerako gyayogera ku South Sudanese. Obiraba bo balowooza they are up there. So we have the capability, tulina coming out to that consciousness of we have the capability and power, and kino ekintu tosobola kiggusa bw'omu. Singa waliwo eyakiggusa bw'omu, ffenna twandibadde free. Olaba ne Shaka Zulu yali yeetaaga abantu be. Olaba ne Dahomey yali yeetaaga all its warriors and all its power, both female and male. So Chengazako Gamba is a system thrives off butamanyabo. The more you don't know, the more system when already successful. Now the more you know, the more the system is at threat. So bana ongo muvuko liwagamba tokekereza bwongo mukayimba ako. It's a very important line. The more wokekereza obwongo ate toyiga wekka. Nze nyumira nnyo yiga n'abantu abalala. Ekintu bakugambako. But I think that's my message for today, and as per what's happening with the weddings and the celebrations and everything else amidst what has happened with the campaign that we've had. It's a decision kati gwengom na Uganda who still wants to liberate not only yourself but ettaka ly'abajjajjaabo, to decide honestly. Kubanga I know most of us abamu you're feeling guilty lwakuba mwavuma abantu, you know, abantu babagamba ne mbavuma. You're feeling guilty, but that guilt see you to hold. Don't carry on people's problems. Si gwe yakikola. Bo be bakulimba gwe nokkiriza. Naye nga kkiriza mbu wali mukyamu obutawuliriza balala baali bagamba mazima. Oddeyo o interrogating eddala ki kye baali boogera and what does Uganda need going forward. Naye nga kati bw'obeera salty n'obeera ng'oli ate nga we guilt bakiyita batya when you guilt tripping tekigenda kuyamba. So
naye
digest emotions.
kati bana abaana abali ku ground ba foot soldier be baakuba emiggo bw'alaba kino ekifaananyi kimusanyusa oba kimukaabya nze simanyi cause I'm trying ngezaako kubeera mu ngatto ze nze cause bwe ndaba kino ekifaananyi ate nze kinsanyusa cause ngamba maybe nze ndi awo abiri no cause nze sirabanga revolution erimu masappe
oyogedde ku mwana eyakubirwa essasi mu lubuto olowooza awulira atya?
Nze njagala oyo omwana mulage kino ekifaananyi mugambe essasi lye baakukuba olaba kye lyazaala, you know, angambe yeah we're removing a dictator, you know, some cause like seriously, you know, people have been hopeless. Imagine if you don't have hope. People are hopeless to a point where they're just desperate for anything, you know. I thought sometimes I think I want to blame Bob Wine, but Nzendoza he came in the right time where people were desperate for anything. Ngabuli yajagwe bagenda naye, you know, katwano netugwa mu gap ze. Do you get the point?
But it's the same with Besigye also came at a point of desperation. They use that desperation to atogedde, they know African people are desperate for change. So bo bateekawo gwe baagala just okufuulinga abantu. So banaye, that's why ngamba kasita mmwe mufuna omulamwa ne mugoba ideology yammwe abo we babatiira naye we muddaawo mu byakulinda oba kulinda ku discussinga ku negotiatinga na America oba the UK oba kulinda muve mu eyo mentality mudde mu mentality ya tusobola okwefuga we tuba tusazeewo tugenda ku decidinga who our allies are fenga we tuba tusazeewo kwefuga mu federal teri agenda tugambako nnywe today in that mentality until we're in that mentality tetugenda ku moving kubanga as these people have shown bagenda continuing to live their lives.
Yeah, so and also before we conclude the show, for those people who want to apply, what will the green card lottery? It expires on November 9th. If try to find some information and see if you can apply. You never know, you may get drafted, you know. So that's something to look into. The other thing, Desire, you get the cool. It's good to educate yourself with information. If you want to, you can go to library Genesis. It has a ton of free books you can study, and also some universities they have open, like you don't need to log into their website. Most universities you can access their online version of their books. For example, you can go like to Michigan State Library database. Then you can look for whatever information you want. Everything is there online for free. So don't be like, hey, njaga kwa research, I don't have where to go to. So most universities in the US, they have free information on the library Genesis. .com. Don't forget the Green Card Lottery to apply for that chance with you know or you may get that opportunity to that. Here the foot soldiers. I don't know, but I hope they are doing great. Because I know so many of them are going through a lot. Uh, anyway, Desire, and if you was to conclude the show,
Mm.
so people can have a good weekend.
As we trek through, I think on a personal level, something that has helped me so much is naye involving anyo with okumanya dala dala omufirika yani, and mzani, and okwemanya is a very powerful thing. And knowledge eno yona yona teri mu bitabo byokka, but also some shows here. Waliwo abantu abajja and they are so knowledgeable. Nange I'm always blown aback by the immense knowledge and the experience gye balina. So get knowledge in two ways, and in two ways. I look for elders and people who are guided that bosobola okufollowinga. If nga gwe you're a person more who's into attaining a visual knowledge or oral knowledge, ate n'ekirala, then bw'otandika to do that process kijja kwanguyiranga to go, and then ojaba more interested to go and read these things. Naye nga we're always at a point of time flowing, stopping, nayenga we're lied to that time stops. Nayenga time stopping. We're always at a point of past, present, and future. And when we're truly, we can really affect our future always, regardless of the circumstances, just to accepting everything for what it is, which is number one, and then number two, how do we free ourselves? Kubanga, we were really sold out by our promising politicians, and we've been sold out by the unitary system. So how do we deliver and free ourselves? To China, we always have the choice of freedom. It's always on the table, and we can always effectively affect our lives. And truly living at a time period whereby America is not omanyi kino nakisomye on Twitter, whereby the American empire is at its weakest point. Kubanga it's the last standing empire extension of Europe. UK mubalaba Queen nawulidde mulwadde. Naye nga American empire is really at its weakest point. Naye nga eyo fact teyamba if the masses who can overthrow and change. Kubanga Africa okukyuka ne Uganda okukyuka is not just going to affect embeera gye tubeeramu tubeere bulungi, but will change how world politics runs and how we govern ourselves, not to dominate other people, naye abantu okubeeramuko n'obuntu bulamu. Abantu not okufa mu mines mu the Congo lwakuba America beetaaga okuzimba enguudo. Abaana not okufa in mines in Congo nga tebasoma lwakuba neetaaga new laptop oba neetaaga essimu. Abantu not okufa in northern Uganda lwakuba Museveni yali ayagala kugobawo bantu akuze agiwe ba investors batandike okuplantinga ku ttaka ly'abantu. Abantu not okufa in Bunyoro lwakuba oil bagenda muweereza somewhere else. Abantu not okufa in the Congo lwakuba abantu beetaaga diamonds. The more if we can, when we free, sigena gamba if we can, when we free ourselves and the possibility where we will affect how the world runs, and that possibility where and that ekintu kirina okukolebwa, because that's eryo bbanja lye tulina bajjajja baffe lye baatulekera lye tulina okufulfillinga. Balwana naffe tulina olwana, naye tosobola gendayo nga toyina that ideology, toyina that backing, nga just ogenze mu wewala ebyakayoola, naye nga awatali ekyo Omukama akuume atakuumira mpeera. Byebyo ebyange.
Thank you, Desire, for that good insight. It was really some good knowledge. Well, in addition to that, I'm still gonna kuongera konyo. I want everyone to be accountable to yourself. What they to be on it serve accountability eri other people, but I want yourself to account yourself for your actions. I want yourself to account why are you following this person. Nze njagala like this year otule wansi ogambe ever since natandika okugoberera ono omuntu, what have I learned or what have I lost? That's you personally accounting yourself. Bw'olaba nga you're gaining nothing, that means you're wasting your time, you know? Like the same thing ogambe, okay, ever since when I joined UNN, I've either gained this or I've lost this. So I want you yourself to account yourself first, because if you learn to do that to yourself, that means you're going to be careful next time somebody comes, gives you false hope. Hey, you already know how to account yourself before you start accounting asking accountability from other people. And the same thing I would like to ask, like, ever since the NUP came to power, in the opposition, what have we gained? What has changed that you can be like, yeah, what them Museveni afuga ne way chiri, personally kumbuza negamba, there is nothing, actually nothing has changed. Actually things are getting worse, worse. Pakakati people bali mu curfew. Sawemu, they have to be inside, like, it's kind of like the whole country is like a camp, concentration camp, People are being told what to do and stuff not to do. Nothing has changed and no one seems to care because they already have personal agendas achieved, because tosobola kuŋŋamba oli mu nnaku naye nga gw'osiiba ku masappe, tova ku masappe naye ogamba ki oli mu nnaku, something like that. So accountability to yourself and to other people. All right, thank you everyone. I hope we can you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Learn something new every day from somebody above you, or you can learn it from yourself. Your brain is the limit. Like you can learn every day, new skills, new knowledge, and stuff like that. Learn good things, not bad things. Desire, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for the producer who was there for the show. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Big up to the producer.
Big up our producer.